Have you ever felt so tired that you just have a lot of energy? I don't know if I'm just like numb to being tired at this point, because if y'all thought I was tired before, just imagine now, after the first week of having a 8-week-old puppy, 9-week-old now, I guess. That's what I'm going through right now. So let's go ahead and jump into this video, and in all honesty, we're going to be jumping right into this thing. This is my mid-2012 MacBook Pro that I still use to this day and that I used all throughout my college career. Now, this is what holds, I don't know how many computer science resumes that I have applied to. Some of them got the job, some of them didn't. I mean, I think so. In all honesty, I haven't even looked at my resumes before making this video, so I'm kind of just hoping that I have a lot of resumes in here. One thing I also have to do is make sure I hide my mailing address as well as my phone number, because I don't really care to put that out to the world just yet. And some of you who haven't watched some of my videos on this channel may be asking, well, why do you have multiple computer science resumes? So these are for like computer science internships, what have you. And I have multiple because I would cater that particular resume to that particular job. Because most of the time, more often than not, you're going to have the HR person who is looking at the job listing and then looking at your resume that you are submitting for that job listing right there. And they're going to look and say, okay, well, this person matches up almost perfectly to our job listing, so let's get him on a phone interview. And that's what goes on. I feel like I need to lower this. Boop. Alright, so I've hopped into here now, and what I've realized is that these three right here, resume for blank, resume intern, and S resume, those are the three that were for computer science internships, if you will, or something along those lines. And all of these that start off with my name, Forrest Knight, those were for jobs coming out of college. So we're going to first start off with these three. Basically, this was the very first resume I ever created when I started to look for a computer science internship. I did a little bit of research, try to figure out like what do I include on a resume where, you know, I've done a little bit of college, something for an internship, and this is what I came up with. I have education section, I have a technical skills section, I have projects section, and then I have work experience. I think these three are the biggest, especially at this point in time, because as you can see down here, my work experience is, you know, I had a good job as a technical sales specialist. I did landscape. Like, none of these, although whatever they may be, have nothing to do with the industry. So showing that, you know, I've taken these particular classes for my computer science degree, and then I have, you know, some of these technical skills and then some of these projects under my belt that I can kind of go into a little bit more detail about. You know, that's my portfolio that I always preach and prod about. And this is actually the resume that got me the job or the internship at a contracting company, which put me on a contract at NASA Langley. It was a NASA Stars 2 contract. I have that all listed in my future resumes, of course. And this is literally the resume that got me that job. And this was the only particular resume in which I included a cover letter because it was a NASA internship. I've talked about that before. And I was like, I really want this. Let me write a cover letter because I don't really have much else to show for it. And this is also when I thought I was going to be graduating in 2017 instead of when I actually did in 2018. And this is what we'll find in the next step of the resume, where basically everything is still the same, except I think I changed up the technical skills because I really started to get more and more into iOS development, and I really wanted to look further into an iOS development job. So that's essentially what I did down here, is that, of course, you know, ability to write and compile programs in C++ and Java, because that's what I did in university. Basic familiarity of iOS development, Swift and Xcode, because that's what I was teaching myself on the side, so like outside of university. And then what else did I change? What did I have here? So I had fundamental understanding of information security. Oh, okay, so I lied. This first one, notice we're back on the first one, was essentially for a resume for me to turn into this company back here, 360 IT Partners, and that is a security firm. And I just had like a little 2-week internship with them. That's why I included, you know, fundamental understanding of information security, because I did a whole lot of research before having that little internship, because it was my first ever step into the industry. I wanted to be prepared. Now, this is the one after that particular internship that I would essentially be submitting to the NASA Stars 2 contract and get that job with the cover letter. So sorry if I confused you there. Confused myself. Like I said, I haven't looked at these until just now. But what I did in the technical skills, fundamental understanding of computer hardware and software, because I was going to be work in a data center
for that particular contract in which I was applying for. And then effective verbal and written communication skills. I think I wanted to include that simply because, just stereotypically, a lot of people in the industry aren't very social. So, especially considering, I used to have a sales job, I feel like I'm very outgoing, even though sometimes I would rather just keep to myself. If I need to be effectively verbal and have effective written communication skills, I can. So that's, I think, why I included that. And then everything else is still the same with the exception of the work experience, where, of course, since I got a little bit of industry experience, I included that on this. And I think I took out, so if we come down here, notice I wanted to keep everything on one page. I didn't want to have them, be giving them a 2-page resume. I want to keep everything on one page. So I think I excluded this runner's server's assistant. Yeah, the runner server's assistant, that's what I excluded. I wanted to keep the landscaper stuff because that just shows, I can do hard work. A lot of the blue collar work, a lot of people like to see, that's essentially all I did. A lot of my blue collar work that I did when I was younger, I didn't include on this, but that one in particular was like overarching. That's where I was legitimately employed, because, a little farm work here and there wasn't legitimately employed. But if you're the IRS, please don't pay attention to what I just said. And that's it for applying to the NASA STARS 2 contract. All right, I think right now is a good time to take a little break and talk about today's sponsor, and that is Skillshare. If you don't already know what Skillshare is, well, one, they always hook y'all up every time they sponsor a video on the channel with 2 months of Skillshare Premium for free for the first 500 people to use the link in the top of the description and sign up to Skillshare. So, free stuff. Y'all know how I am. I'm a cheapskate. I like free stuff. So I really like that they do that for y'all. And for you to understand why that would be beneficial to you, Skillshare is an online learning platform for creators like you and I. Anything in the realm of technology, so you can learn mobile app development or web development. I personally like to use Skillshare a lot when it comes to my video work, when it comes to my photo work, and also when it comes to a little bit of business and marketing, because as many of y'all know, I work at a startup, and I think there's going to be a lot of benefit to you knowing a multitude of skills that a startup could use if you want to work at a startup. So there's that. I hope you guys take advantage of what they're offering you with the 2 free months. It supports me, you get something for free, and it also supports Skillshare. So more than all, I would really appreciate it if y'all did that. So to recap, because I know I just confused myself, probably confused y'all. This one, I was applying to a computer security firm, if you will, and that's why I included all of that. And this is like my very base resume. And then over here is after I got that security little internship that I was applying for the NASA STARS 2 contract internship. And then once I got the NASA internship, I went and I applied for the Norfolk Southern job. However, looks like I'm missing one somewhere in the mix, because there must have been one that just included all of these under work experience, because obviously I can't have a Norfolk Southern job before I worked at Norfolk Southern, although it is listed on my resume. So right here, I want to see if I made any differences between the last one and this one, where of course you can see I added in at least just one more class. I guess I wanted to make this 4x4 instead of 4x3 over here. And I just added in my operating systems class, I believe. And then I took out the iOS development stuff because that wasn't really related to what I was applying for with this particular resume, whatever that may have been. And I added in basic familiarity of SQL and related software, because that is a lot of what I did at my Norfolk Southern internship. A lot of SQL stuff and database stuff and generating reports and things of that nature, along with a lot of regular internship work, figure, PowerPoint presentations, and so on. All right, so just to clear things up on this particular resume right here, obviously there is one missing in between the resume I used to apply to the NASA contract and this one right here, which was whatever resume that I used to apply to this Norfolk Southern co-op right here, in which they invited me back for a second stint. That's what a co-op is. You do it every other semester, and that's what I did with them. So obviously there's one missing. I wish I had that one. Maybe I do somewhere. But for now, I think I just wanted to consolidate everything that I had into a resume that I could build off of for applying to jobs after college instead of internships, and I think that's what I did here. So since that is the case, I want to dive a little bit deeper in here. Obviously, we went over the education, the technical skills. One thing that I did notice is that in between here and here, I took out my projects. And I think the reason I did that is because I actually had some experience in, I had this internship, which was at that security firm. I had this internship. This was more so consulting and security, whatever it was. And then this internship, which was NASA's NASA contract. And then this internship, which was the Norfolk Southern Interim Systems Co-op. So in my mind, that essentially counteracted. That was better than listing projects that I had worked on in class because I actually had, real industry experience. That's why I took out the project portion, because I still wanted to include these two jobs because I'm proud of those two jobs and I want to show that I have, technical sales, like I talked about with the whole social aspect of people in this industry, as well as the landscaper job because of the whole blue collar thing I mentioned prior in this video. And then of course this is the industry stuff, and I felt that that was way more important than adding in projects into the resume. Did I say that already? It was more important than, okay. And then within each one, as you can see, that I stay consistent with my formatting when I have two bullets that describe each job under each job. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, each one is in present tense instead of past tense. If I were to use past tense, I would have wanted to make sure that all of these were in past tense. Now let's move on to some of the real job things that are like you can see under here. The next one we're going to look at, I applied to IBM. So for whatever particular job, this is the resume in which I thought was going to get me a job. Don't know why, but I did. And the very first thing I noticed is that I changed up my noteworthy courses completed throughout my Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, which that's different as well. Bachelor's degree in Computer Science. Instead, I wanted to sound a little bit smarter, and I said Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. And I added in some of these better classes. I added in artificial intelligence. I added in my software engineering, which I don't think I had in there before. I added things that were more applicable to this particular job. Or I just added things that I thought were better, like, artificial intelligence course. Yeah, of course I'm going to include that on my resume. And then with my technical skills, I got a little bit more specific. So I wanted to show that I have experience of over 4 years developing in Java and C++ applications. I wanted to be a little bit more specific with my iOS development, how I've developed 7 small-scale applications and 1 deployable application using Swift and Xcode. I have my Android development because I had just done an Android mobile app development class in school, and I did Android development, so I guess this was some type of software development job where maybe they were talking about something with mobile app development or web development or what have you, because I also took a web development course throughout, and not sure if I included that on here. Looks like I didn't. And then of course I wanted to show that I could hang with what they were doing, so experience practicing agile methodologies, object-oriented programming, test-driven development, and version control via Git. Because those are, those are things that you need to know when going into a software engineering job, or at least this particular software engineering job. In all honesty, they probably had like 1, 2, 3, 4 different bullet points saying you must be experienced in agile methodologies. You must be experienced in developing object-oriented programming. You must be experienced in, so on and so forth. You get the idea. And that is exactly why I included that in this particular resume. Maybe they included something about, web development and HTML, whatever. That's probably why I added those particular technical skills, because of that IBM job in which I was applying. Because as you can see over on my resume for rent, I applied to a for rent job. That is a company that is located in Norfolk, Virginia. I included a little bit different. I didn't really say much of, I didn't say any, well no, I did say stuff about iOS development. But one thing I did do is I included a language. I reformatted this, it seems like. Instead of being a little bit all over the place like over here, this is kind of a sentence. This is saying iOS development. And like these are a little bit different format, just like I was talking about the proper formatting with all of these, the proper grammar. I think that's what I took into this particular resume, which if I recall correctly, this was just for some type of software development job. And I wanted to show that I knew, I don't know if this was the right way, but I guess maybe reason for that is because this isn't necessarily consistent, whereas this really is. So this, I have what it's about, and then I go into a little bit more detail about that particular topic. So the topic here is languages. Talk about some of the languages, probably from best to worst in which I was able to do them. And then technologies, object-oriented programming, test-driven development, agile, similar, essentially reworded this right here. And then Java, iOS development, Android development, web development, and I just kind of went into a little bit more detail on those. Other than that, it looks exactly the same. The reason I changed the technical skills on each resume is because I was matching up the technical skills to what they were actually asking for on the job listing. Now, mind you, I'm not just going to go, all right, job listing, let me just copy and paste. One, I made sure I reworded it because they didn't word it like this. They didn't say we need all of these languages or we need these technologies. They just said, maybe we need you to be familiar with Jenkins, or we need you to be familiar with agile methodologies, what have you. And that's what I included on my technical skills because like I said before, I want them to be able to make sure the HR person, oh, this guy knows what we need him to know, so let's phone interview and then that get your foot in the door. But I made sure that I only applied to jobs that I knew how to do. Otherwise, if I were to match up my resume to the job listing and I didn't know how to do it, that would just be lying about my skills and you'll be exposed real quick. All right, so moving on to Port of Virginia. Now this was way beyond my scope. Probably should have like a master's degree at least to apply to what I applied for, which was a data scientist position. And surprisingly enough, considering this was in a similar industry, and I really went into detail about what I did at this co-op, the tools that I used, because this is similar to what they use, because Norfolk Southern Corporation, transportation company. Port of Virginia, transportation company. So they saw that I worked at Norfolk Southern. They knew that that was a relatable knowledge, and everything that I listed up here I was able to do. I had just done all of my artificial intelligence stuff with Python, with Java. Of course, I knew the C++, so I was familiar with all of that. I did a lot of work with databases, so I changed up these technical skills to exactly what they were asking that lined up with what I was able to do. So they asked for more than just, these 4 bullet points, of course. Maybe I added in a little bit more in my 4 bullet points than they were asking, and then, of course, on the job listing, they were asking more than I listed here, but I wanted to just list the technical skills that I actually had. And I actually got an interview for this job at Port of Virginia. I didn't get the job because I was way underqualified, but that's the beauty of a resume, is that if you make sure that it matches up to, and you have actual good work experience from previous internships that you took throughout your computer science degree in preparation for an actual job application, it can really help get your foot in the door. And then if you're qualified and you really know your stuff, that's where it'll really shine in the interview. And then you can see, of course, that I changed up some of my noteworthy courses up here because I wanted it to match up a little bit more with what they were doing for that particular job. And then over here, what is this one? This one was for City of Virginia Beach. So I saw, I think, some type of systems analyst job in Virginia Beach, and that was essentially the type of intern I was at, yes, intermodal systems analyst. That's funny because that's actually what I changed. Oh, I put that there as well. So intermodal systems was the group I was in at Norfolk Southern, and it looks like what I did for these two was I changed this intermodal systems analyst co-op intern, intermodal systems analyst co-op intern, and I got a little bit more specific like I said before, because I wanted to show them that the type of work that you're asking for is similar to what I've done within my previous internships. And that's essentially what I did. I really wanted to highlight what my experience was, whether that's work experience or school experience or on the side experience, that correlated with what they needed from the person applying, from me. Now, what did I do? I think I changed up this a little bit. So experience developing diagrams and flowcharts for system design. I did that a little bit. I did that in school. Ability to write. So that from concept to end user, I guess that was a little bit of terminology that they use in their job listing. So I wanted to match that up a little bit. Sorry, I'm on redact, so it's trying to block out things like I did up here. But other than that, it looks like it's the same as here. Effective verbal and written communication skills within a team environment. I added that from before. I think before I only had effective verbal and written communication skills. Instead, what I did is I upgraded it to effective verbal and written communication skills within a team environment. ability to use Microsoft Office applications in a corporate environment, which I did at this particular internship. And that's basically it. I had a fun time making this video. I didn't know what I was going to... I knew I wanted to go over some of my computer science or I guess software engineering resumes. And considering a lot of y'all are computer science students or aspiring computer science students, or maybe you're even self-taught, regardless, if you're looking for a job, I think that looking at somebody else's resumes and kind of how they got their particular internships or jobs is rather useful. And if you were one of those people who thinks my resume is ugly, who thinks it's inefficient, who thinks it would never work, or any of the above, or something else along those lines, fair enough. Yeah, that's your own opinion, whatever. But I do want to touch on the fact that, let's jump back in here, is that I did get this internship with it. I did get this internship with it. And I did get this co-op with it. Plus, I did get an interview with Porter, Virginia. And also this one right here, which was for rent. This actually got me a phone interview as well. Basically what they did, this was for an actual job, but they needed somebody to start now, which was the winter of 2017. I wanted to go into spring semester of 2018 knowing that I had a job locked in for once I graduate. So that's why I was applying to all these places around that time. And they did actually say, you know, we can't be hiring you until you graduate, but we can bring you on as an intern for the spring 2018 semester. I did eventually end up turning that down simply because I needed to focus on my final semester. I just wanted to finish off school and just start my own job instead of worrying about the internship and the job, because I made a video regarding working full-time plus going to school full-time, and that's what that would have been considering I've already had all my classes locked in. I didn't want to do that again. So whatever you think of the resume, it worked. That's all I have to say about it. So I hope you found some value out of this video. I think that's all I wanted to talk about. But this is the last video of March. I have a big month of April planned, so make sure if you're new here to subscribe for that, because I think a lot of y'all will really like those videos, at least based on my previous videos. Y'all will really like those videos, so I hope you enjoy those. Like I said, be sure to subscribe. Be sure to give this video a big thumbs up if you did like it. Help me out with that YouTube algorithm. I'd really appreciate it. And I think that's all for me. Until next time, guys. Have a good one. Peace.